sometimes at a Docio show, I feel like there needs to be that little break of like, okay, whew, I got this, we got this, because I remember, being at shows and being like, what is happening? What is this? And that's good. It needs to be there. And then there needs to be like all right, let's just smile for a second too. But that's what I think we try to do, is to take you all the way through there, starting down here, getting here, coming back a little bit, each time come back a little bit, but going up.
Here we are on the Weird Music Podcast. We got Billy Brouse from Papadosio. Billy, glad to have you on here. Looking forward to Columbus New Year's Eve, 2 nights here at the Bluestone. So Billy, to start this off, I've been to, can't even count how many Papadosio shows. Definitely not as many as some of you heads out there. But tell me, what are some of your favorite Papadosio songs that you think you would love, even if you weren't in the band?
I mean, we all write the songs, to a certain extent. There are some that people will write that are kind of just there's nothing that it needs, and I think I would like Lion's Mane, regardless. Kind of the whole Microdosio album, Lion's Mane kind of hits really hard where it's supposed to, and I really dig that. And at the beginning, that's our old bus driver saying, if the world only knew. I think it's on the album. I mean, I know when we do it live, the sample plays first before that modular sequence, which is actually, I think, based on some cello wavetables or something. I don't know. It's some weird sample and messed with through this modular system. So I'm for lack of better words, synthesizer nerd, I guess. Not as much as some people, but so when I first heard that beginning, that bring, 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 I was like, all right, well, this is gonna be great. Because I know how Anthony's brain works, and it's this is gonna be awesome. And it was great. The one that I've loved forever is now called Reishi. And that was a song that Sam had written when he was in college. And I heard it was lost for a long time, and I just kept asking him whenever, because it would just pop into my head, that bing ding 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 would just pop into my head every once in a while, and I would kind of be like, what is that from, and it was this song that Sam had written and we thought was gone, and he found it miraculously. So yeah, I think Reishi I dug before it was a band song, before it was ever going to be a band song, before Sam, I don't even know if he was in the band at that point. That's how long ago it was. I think he had just joined the band, but I don't think we were ready for it yet, you know what I mean? So yeah, I'd have to say Reishi, I guess. That's probably the one.
Yeah, I also dig Reishi. That's the perfect, you just beat the video game, end
Right.
screen song.
That's what it is. I always referred to it as the Water Temple song, because if you've ever played Ocarina of Time, it's that's one of the hardest things ever, and it's just the Water Temple and it's over, and I don't know what the song is that plays, but in my head it's Reishi.
Us fans, we see you guys on stage having an amazing time, putting on an amazing show, and we can only infer how grueling life can be on the road, especially years past, 200 plus shows in a year. Bands, they fight, they go through growing pains, and we don't really see a lot of that. Over the 10 plus years you've been in a band, what have you had to learn about how to be a good bandmate, whether that's just staying out of each other's hair on the tour bus, but also when it comes to creative control and making music?
Being on the road with at the beginning, three other people. And then, throughout the years, it goes to upwards of like, 10, depending on what year you're talking about and what tour. And like, one of the things is that I've learned is like, if someone's having a bad day, just like let them, like, it's not your fault. You know what I mean? Like, it's not always you. Granted, there are some times where, you were being a dick or something, you didn't realize it, which, that happens, but that's not like the end of the world. And if someone's having a bad day and it doesn't seem like they're coming out of it, like, just let them have their day, man. Like, it's okay. You don't always have to, be smiley and happy. And there's a lot of factors in everyone's life. Even if we're all doing the same thing, we've all been away from home for however long it is. If someone's having a day, do what you can to what you think they might need to have a better day, whatever is in your power to do, but it's not always in your power. Like, you can't fix everything. I've always wanted everybody to like me all the time. That's something that, like, I've had to, like, sometimes people don't like you, man, and it's okay. It's not necessarily something that you've done. Life is crazy, so obviously don't be a dick for no reason. No one's got time for that. And it's easier to be nice than it is to be mean and aggressive. And it never gets your point across. It's not helping anybody. I've always tried to go out of my way to facilitate the betterment of someone's day somehow. And that usually will come back to you, and it usually people see that and they feel it and they get it, and at least just in that little moment of whatever it is you're doing or saying or acting out, that at least usually helps. And if they're having a real bad day, let them have the day. It's not forever. You just gotta kind of let it ride for a bit. Don't make anything worse, man. I think all of us are professionals at that at this point. Like, we don't really get in fights. Like, it's not worth it. And if we do, I don't even register it. Maybe that's what it is. Like, it's just, I grew up, my brother and I grew up with someone, he's 4 years younger than me, but he's still like the same age. To me, we're the same age. So like, I had practice with a sibling at least. And Sam and I never grew up fighting at all. So I was lucky enough to have that going into being on the road. So that helped me.
It's so interesting to hear about like your guys' internal culture, because like to all of us, you're like our shamans. So it's like to learn about like what makes you guys tick and how you cohabitate sounds like such a, like, almost as difficult as making amazing music to keep that, really special bond through frickin' years of being shipped around like sardines on tour.
Right. Well, we did it, like, we put ourselves there, and that's something that's cool. Like, no one ever forced us to do anything. Like, the music industry isn't what it used to be. But, nobody owns any of our stuff. So no one can make us go. So if there's no reason for us to go and go out on tour for 2 months, or like, I don't owe the record company anything. So at the end of the day, we are the ones making the decisions to put out an album, to put out a tour, or this date. Like, I looked at that date and was like, okay, we'll do that. This is our ship that we're sailing. I felt like maybe I didn't have a choice for a while, just because, like I said, you just kind of get swallowed up by the monster and it just goes. But it's still us doing it, like, and any concern regarding any date or any decision is valid, and we talk about it. So that's something else. Like, you have to let everyone be heard, and that's not always easy with so many people, but it's very worth it. Being packed like sardines in a crushed tin box is a real thing. It's gotten easier over the years, but if you have, like, I understand why Roger Waters and David Gilmour hate each other. I don't know exactly why I can see why people have those rivalries that never go away. I don't know either of them, obviously, but that could be partly because they were being shipped around by people. They didn't always make those decisions, you know, back in the day when you hear about rock and roll feuds and stuff like that. For us, it's just completely different because we always did everything. At the beginning, we booked everything we did. We still do all of our recording, we're pretty hands-on. Like we have obviously have a lot of help if we need it, because you do. I mean, you do, but we've done everything, and we've done the times when you just do hands off and do nothing. And sometimes if you don't have any hand in it, like I see arguments happen a lot quicker. If you're not letting people be heard and say their piece, then it's like you don't talk about it. Doesn't mean it's not there. And I just know if someone starts talking, I know what they're going to say at this point, like within the band or within the crew and stuff like that.
So like that moment, on stage, you're all talking to each other. You can anticipate what each other's going to say. We're all here in the crowd tripping on mushrooms, having this amazing moment. As the person kind of behind the scenes orchestrating that moment for us, how do you intend that to be, that quintessential Papadosio experience?
You have to remember that before we were doing this, I mean, in the beginnings, we were those kids in a crowd too. You know what I mean? I was, for sure. So like I know what it's like to be out there. And granted, I do forget sometimes what our shows look like from an audience perspective. I mean, I think about it a lot more than I used to, but like the other day, Sam was like, dude, I think we like blew some people's brains off today. Like, and I kind of forget that like it is really intense, man. At times, it's pretty intense. So like personally, I write stuff. It's there to like make you have a good time, and like other people write stuff that challenges like, do I like this? What is this? You know what I mean? I'll play that stuff all the time. I just can't write crazy prog stuff as much as other people. Like I would rather it be, you don't have to think about it too hard, because sometimes at a Dosio show, I feel like there needs to be that little break of like, okay, whew, I got this. We got this, because I remember, being at shows and being like, what is happening? What is this? And that's good. It needs to be there. And then there needs to be like all right, let's just smile for a second too. But that's what I think we try to do, is to take you all the way through there, starting down here, getting here, coming back a little bit, each time come back a little bit, but going up. If we plan it out correctly, which we do, like, we do it on purpose. So for the most part, but sometimes the best, ones don't happen on purpose. And that's why we sometimes just don't plan stuff. I mean, a lot of people do that, and I get why. I just want people to know that, like, there are times where I legit have no idea what's about to happen. And then someone does, and they take it to that place. And it's just more fun, I think. I mean, it is for me, at least. It's hard.
Have you gotten into like playing and maybe even like writing on psychedelics?
In the past, yeah. I'm trying to remember. There's a part in Q that I recorded. Like I was just kind of messing around, and I was on this, and I had this plugged in at the old Dosio like band house compound thing we had in Leicester, North Carolina, and like I'm pretty sure I was tripping, because like it didn't make sense at the time, but I just kind of recorded it. We sometimes, like when we were younger, we would just record everything, turn stuff on, and we would have people over and would just see like the next day. Like this is like back in when I was still in college and we were in Ohio, and we did that in North Carolina a little bit too, but it's like that part is like it's like at the end of Q and everyone else is saying the harmony, and it doesn't, I still don't know if it belongs there, but I remember listening back the next day and Anthony's like, yeah, let's put that in there, who cares, let's try it out. Like the voice doesn't make sense, that like it's abrasive, and maybe that's why it works. I still play it every time because it makes me smile to remember, like recording that at like 3 a.m, just like, what am I doing, why not, we didn't record this, it wasn't like intentional, I just kind of did it and it kind of fit enough to keep it in there. We have in the past recorded on psychedelics, but it wasn't like, this is an official take. It's more of a, and I forget what we used to call it, but we would just record hours and then listen back to parts of it the next day or a couple days later if you need like ideas for something, which is always pretty fun to do. Maybe we should do that again. That was fun.
Playing aside, what perspective shifts do you think your guys' experience with psychedelics have given you that have really put you down this path?
Well, I think it made me worry about it less. It kind of helped me remember that everything is okay, pretty much no matter what. I mean, at least it's in your own head. Everything outside of you, everything, all, it wouldn't exist if it wasn't for your brain. And I'm not saying that in like an egotistical way. It's more of like your brain is powerful and shapes your experience. So if you open it up in certain ways, it can make things that at one point appeared daunting and silly. Like no one, who does this? It's crazy, like, but it doesn't, nothing is completely permanent. And it just kind of made it, I don't know, easier, or it made more sense at times. I think I saw Radiohead at Blossom Music Center in 2003 on the Hail of the Thief tour, and I took a bunch of mushrooms. Like some, like when I don't know how old you are, but when I was in high school and college, like everybody ate an eighth of mushrooms, and that's just what you did. I don't know if people do that anymore. I certainly don't. But like all of my friends, they're just like, if you're eating mushrooms, you have an eighth of mushrooms, and it's like, dude, that's kind of a lot. Like, I mean, for the first time you take mushrooms, you eat an eighth. Like, I get why, but like, I don't think I would tell someone to do that now. You know what I mean? Like, but I did all the time. But I went to see Radiohead. I had eaten at least an eighth of mushrooms, and like they encored with everything in its right place, and I just started crying my eyes out. And like I just remember like a big pink goo pile of love and Radiohead on stage that just felt like, oh, everything's fine. You know what I mean? And the song, obviously, it not necessarily is saying that, but it just, the music made it. Experiences like that shaped my maybe not willingness, but like there's something special there, and there's something special there without psychedelics as well. Like you don't need to be on psychedelics, everybody knows that. But I think everybody should try psychedelics at one point, like everyone, because your brain is amazing and they're not here for no reason. Like, I don't know, it seems to be helpful to certain people, and certain people they're not. Everybody's different, but for me, yeah, it just kind of made it make more sense, even if it's not cool like right away, and it's not right in front of you that everything's fine. Everything's going to be okay, and I don't know if that's a weird thing to take away from getting your brain blown out on mushrooms, but I've always kind of come away with that thought, that there's more to it than just me, and I don't know everything, so do what makes you happy if you can. And I can, and so I guess I can. I don't know if it's working or not, but I'm doing it and I'm still enjoying it. So,
talking about psychology, you bring up our brains are amazing. Having spent so many years playing psychedelic music, do you ever think about what very low and then like high, almost cutting pitched frequencies, the highest of high notes, the lowest of low notes, with just like different intervals, what that does to the brain, like especially someone, who's very open, we're talking about mushrooms.
I mean, to an extent, yeah. Even when you're not open, let's say, different frequencies affect you differently. I think about it in terms of like, it's a physical thing that's happening, that hits your ears and goes into your brain, which is fucking crazy. Like that it's a physical thing flying through this air that is in an atmosphere that's like really thin. I mean, that's freaky on a million levels, but I really love bass frequencies and like what they can physically move you, like I don't really make, real bassy stuff. Like I do here, but I don't like put it out really because I don't know enough about it to do it. That would be interesting to learn more about what physically it does up there. And I don't know if anybody really knows like what exactly it does to your brain. I imagine it makes your synapses fire certain ways, and there's all sorts of crazy stuff going on up there. I've never gotten into, and this is what I'm drawing the blank on. I forget what it's called, but like different what is it, 432 hertz, is what, a C or something, middle C, but like music based in different frequency ranges for certain healing properties or for certain outcomes. Like you can make music in a certain frequency range that does something to people or does something to your brain to make you feel a certain way, which is really, really cool. I know Anthony used to mess around with that a little bit, but that was always kind of over my head, honestly. I was just like, I mean, that sounds cool, dude. That sounds sweet. But yeah, I guess it would be cool to get more into the science of that. I always forget that there's science behind it and it's a physical thing that's actually happening, even though you can't see it.
Do you ever think about like the origins of music and like how crazy it is that it even exists?
Yeah, I've definitely thought about that before. I mean, it could have been that mushrooms helped that along. You know what I mean? Like you get some sticks and start banging on stuff after you ate some grass that a reindeer peed on or something, that had a reindeer ate mushrooms or something. But it is wild. And it's weird that it makes sense that we have music, because if you think about it, there's no reason for it to be here evolutionarily, I don't think. I guess I've never thought about that hard, but what benefit is there other than it makes you feel a certain way, which I suppose could lead to connections with other humans, which could lead to reproduction or could lead to advancements in some sort of technology because people are feeling, a certain way. So I wonder, I've never really thought about that though. I wonder if that's why it exists. It does actually benefit humanity. I mean, I know it does, obviously music benefits humanity. That's why I do it. One of the reasons why I do it. But like, if you think about it in like a evolution aspect, which I find myself doing a lot. I just can't help it. I'm like, why does that exist? Like, why somebody took some sticks and started banging on a rock, and then another guy was like, oh, cool, and did it as well. And they got together and everyone felt really great. I don't know. It goes from there. Yeah, man, anything's possible. That's another cool thing about psychedelics is that people kind of don't innately think that anything is possible. Because that, taking a big risk is risky. And if you're not open to taking risks and doing stuff differently than other people have done, then nothing's going to change really. And I'm not saying that playing music is changing the world, but people enjoy it. And if it makes them feel good, then you're changing somebody for the, hopefully for the better.
I want to hear your answer to the question. What would you qualify as quote unquote good music?
That somebody enjoys it, I think, because it's not up to me and it's not up to you or anybody. It's up to the person hearing it. So if somebody likes this, you know, cool, good for them. It's whatever sound, you know, people enjoy, because, you know, that's the whole point of it, I think. It doesn't have to be anything. Just like any art doesn't have to be any certain way. If it makes someone feel something and they want to repeat that feeling, I think it's good.
So, you know, Papadosio coming to Columbus for New Year's Eve. Hope to see you all there at the Bluestone. Looking through your fans' eyes, like, what do you think they like most about Papadosio, about your music?
I don't know, because like maybe it's just me, or like is it kind of all over the place? Like it's not one thing, you know what I mean? Like we've never played the same set purposefully twice ever. And I think that might be one of the reasons, because you can go to a bunch of shows and depending on how we're feeling, it's going to go a certain way. Like we can play the same song. I mean, we've played a bunch of those songs like 1,000 times, but they're not really the same. I mean, there's a couple times that they're the same, but I think I hope that's one of the reasons. But honestly, it's not really up to me. It's whatever they like about it. It could be they like the sound of Mike's crash cymbal, and that's valid. You know, whatever it is. And I think it might be partially that we also do consciously plan out sets in a way that you're going to go on a ride from the beginning to the end, and we don't take set breaks really. And like it wasn't on purpose at the beginning, but now we kind of do it on purpose. But it's just, if you want to pay attention the whole time, it will be, hopefully it will be different, you know, than from how it started. And hopefully we don't repeat things. I don't know, just trying to keep it interesting. So as long as everyone knows that we're really trying to make it interesting. Like I know that, you know, who would say they're not trying to make it interesting, but you know, I think that's probably part of it.
If you're listening to this, I'm sure you have your own answer to that. But anyways, Billy, man, thanks for coming on. Any last message from you to, you know, your fans out there listening?
There's a Brether set the 29th.
That's at the Summit Music Hall.
At the Summit, yeah.
EarthCry too.
Yeah, and Anthony. So that'll be fun. And thank you, everyone. It's just wild that you're listening to us sometimes. That alone blows my mind. That's just wild. And, you know, we do it to make y'all happy, and we hope that we're making you happy, and don't worry too much, because you're gonna be okay.
You made it this far. Thank you for listening, and a big thank you to our sponsors, Hemp Relief CBD, SEM Tickets, Devil Wind Brewing, and Artillery Productions. We got links in the description below. Go check out all the awesome stuff they've got going on. And yeah, much love, everyone.